What's going on, fam? Welcome back to the channel. Today is going to be a little bit of a different video. It is a 1.5 hour long Zoom call where I discuss the specifics of making a CV and answer a bunch of different questions about what it's like becoming and being a professional footballer. Oftentimes there's lots of questions about how much it costs to do trials, how to get contacts, how to go about getting trials and talking to coaches and owners, and I'm going to discuss all of that in this Zoom call, as well as an on-screen how-to about how to create the best CV possible for your recruiting processes. Let's hop straight into the video.
Cool. Okay, so what's up, guys? How's it going? Thank you very much for joining. I'm seeing a lot of good questions in the comments. Nico said, I'll be driving to our game, so my camera will be off. That is no problem. Okay, cool. So let's get started. What I want to do is address a few things. Yes, go for it. Is that Roy? What's up, mate? Do you need something?
No, I don't know why my hand is up.
Oh, no worries. No worries. Okay. Okay, cool. So let's go over a few things really quick. So far I want to talk about, I've got agency stuff. So timing of getting an agent, how to get an agent, are they necessary? So everything revolving around getting an agent for yourself as you move from either club to college soccer or college soccer to the professional level. And then proven paths to pro in the US for those who didn't play NCAA or academy. So that's a good one. And then adapting quickly to the new team and overcoming imposter syndrome. So that's more of like a mental game type of thing, which is definitely up my alley. So let's do let's go through a couple of things. So I'll share with you my story really quick, just a brief overview. If you guys want a more like full picture, you guys can go to my YouTube channel, which I can link in the chat in a little bit. But I have a video in there that basically I explain like my entire trajectory through, I guess through Australia. So it's been a little bit since I've done like an update video, but the YouTube channel is a great resource for you guys for any sort of training videos, mindset stuff, day in the life, boot reviews, like the whole 9 yards. But just an overview of where I've been in my soccer career. So I grew up, my name is Noah Cavanaugh, if you guys didn't know that already. I know a few of you in the chat, which is awesome. So great to see everybody here. So I was born in Alaska, and then I moved very quickly or my parents, I guess, did, to Seattle. So I grew up playing soccer in Seattle. I played for Emerald City FC a long time ago. And then I played at Seattle United for a season or a season and a half. And then I played at Crossfire and Crossfire Academy for the rest of my high school career. Played at Seattle Prep right in Capitol Hill. And then I went to Whitman College, which is in Walla Walla, Washington, not too far from Seattle, about 4-hour drive and southeast. And from Whitman, I was able to play a year abroad or a season abroad in Denmark, which was a fantastic experience. That was sort of my first non-organized US college or US soccer experience, if you will. So playing in Denmark was amazing, got great experience there. And then as soon as I graduated from college, I went and played in Spain. And then I came back to the US, played in the US for a little bit at like a U23 league here in the United States. I think it was like, I want to say it was like NPSL level or UPSL level. And then I went to LA Force. So played at LA Force in the inaugural NISA season, the National Independent Soccer Association, which is where I'm playing now, not in LA, but in a different team. So that's a professional league in the 3rd division of the US. And played in Los Angeles. And then I spent 18 months playing professionally in Australia, which was a fantastic experience through the COVID time. And that was an awesome place to be because it was so cool. Okay. It looks like, sorry, really quick. I assume Sebastian, that's you, I assume, cultures.
Yeah, yes, sir. That's me. That's me right here. I'm just getting
Wes.
done with my training with the Sounders, but I'm ready to be part of this conversation.
Fantastic. Awesome. So I'm midway through telling sort of a short version of my story, Seba. So I'll keep going with that, and then we can move forward into some of the other stuff. So yeah, so played in Australia for about 18 months, and then came home because of a really bad foot surgery that I had to have. So I broke my foot in what's called the navicular bone, which is a really key piece in the strength of your foot. So when your foot flexes, in order for you to push off the ground, that's the bone that gets a lot of stress. So oftentimes, like, my initial prognosis for that surgery was basically, we don't know if the surgery is going to go well. You may not be able to walk again. So that was a year ago. And basically what I did was I got surgery. I rehabbed my ass off, worked basically 7-8 hours a day, rehabbing, doing cardio, doing any sort of strength conditioning stuff. Seba contacted me sort of, I guess, not out of the blue, but out of the blue a little bit, and said, hey, would you be willing to come down and talk to our guys as a professional player? And I was like, absolutely, this would be so much fun. So, and I was like, well, can I bring my boots? Can I train with you guys? And I played an entire season, getting back into sort of match shape, and got to meet a ton of cool people in the Cultures family. And I feel absolutely blessed to be a part of that group now, which is awesome. So every time I go back to Seattle, it's a cool experience to connect with everybody and to, be part of the fam, which is awesome. And then I just recently, so our season, I guess, for Cultures ended in like November, December time. And then I trained a bunch over the winter, and then I was in a couple different, I had basically 4 or 5 different professional trials lined up, and I ended up signing with Michigan Stars FC, which is in the National Independent Soccer Association. So I'm here in my apartment, and it's been a super cool preseason experience. We just started season, and I'm actually waiting for my registration to go through because of the paperwork that has to go from Australia to the US. So I haven't been able to get rostered yet because I'm not registered with the team, but I'm signed, I'm getting paid, I'm back in the league. So it's very fun. So that's an overview of sort of my story as it is. I've got lots of big plans to hopefully play in a couple more countries across the world, which would be pretty amazing. I've got some friends playing in some pretty cool places, and it looks like some people are jumping in as well. So that's awesome. Derek, great to see you, brother. Okay, so awesome. So let's go through really quick. And then again, for those of you who are hopping in, feel free to throw anything in the chat that you want. Feel free to throw any sort of comments or questions in the chat that I will address sort of towards the end. We'll go through an entire, I want to go through how to build a resume, like a professional resume, and then we will go through some of those things. And I'll obviously address a couple of the questions that are relevant to that resume. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so you guys can see this, I assume. Head nods or thumbs up on the stuff. Awesome, cool. Okay, so I use a program called Canva, and Canva is, you can do the paid version or you can do a free version. I use the free version for, as you can see, these are all YouTube thumbnails right here. So that's what I use for YouTube. But what we're gonna do is, let me see if I can find this one. Gosh, it was a while back then. A resume. Well, let's just go through a blank one anyway. So you can search on Canva, and so we'll go resume, and just, you can click on those, and they've got a ton of, and again, this is not a sponsored thing. I just use this program because it's super easy and it makes things so straightforward for anyone who wants to, anyone who wants to do this sort of stuff. So we can pick any sort of random one. I'm trying to think of one that would be pretty easy to do. A couple things to keep in mind when building a resume. So I guess I'll talk first about like what makes a resume really good. So you want a really good headshot of yourself. So that's something that either a friend of yours, parent, partner, whoever can take a good headshot photo. I've got a couple that I got done by a friend of mine in Seattle. So I have some headshots, something, again, as you can see on screen, stuff like this. Obviously this is a professional program, but you want stuff. This one's a little weird. I don't know why that would be a headshot, but you want something that's very easy to tell who you are, right? So I used to have longer hair that was sort of like, I did my own haircut and flipped over. I would want to redo it if I had long hair and I cut my hair like this, right? So you always want sort of an updated version of that. The reason resumes are so important is because that's the first impression that the coach, an agent, a scout, any sort of manager of a club is going to get of you. So if you think about getting to the collegiate level, you want to have club soccer, UPSL soccer, maybe USL2 experience on your resume, on your CV, so that as soon as that coach looks at the resume, they say, oh, this person has really high level experience. This person's either scoring goals, getting awards, doing all sorts of, how many games you played, how many games you started. Those are really important details as we move into this thing. So I'm actually going to try and find this one thing, this one resume that I built quite a bit ago now, just to show you sort of what a final resume would look like, and then we can go through what that looks like for one of you guys. And it is going to look a little different for me because I have been in the professional game for a while, but it might also be something that you do for the club level, or even you have a resume for academy. So how many, goodness, I don't know where this thing went. That's okay. All right, we'll start over from scratch. That's okay. So we'll get out of this, and I want to find one that is a reasonable, this one actually looks pretty good. So we're going to click on this. So this gives a sort of an overview, and I'm going to go in and delete like all of this information, obviously. So if you go into upload, so this is like all the photos that I've uploaded for any sort of resume. So this is actually a fantastic photo. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in and delete this one, and there you go. So see how quick that was, right? And then I can resize this to make it look larger, or however I want to do that, right? So here, and again, I'll change, we don't have to go through all the technical details because I think Canva makes it really, really easy to do some of the, color changes if you want. So in my case, because I've got a personal brand and because I have like brand colors, I'd actually change all of this coloring to my own personal brand colors. You may not want to do that. You may want to do something simple like this with a really nice blue color, just white and black text. That works totally fine as well. But you do want to make sure that you are doing things in a way that makes it really clear. So maybe for me, in fact, let's do this. Let me pretend as if I'm in high school and I want to get to college. So I would say up on the top, I would probably say left back, right back, underneath that, left footed. Okay. So if you are right or left footed, that actually makes a pretty big difference, especially I wouldn't overthink it, but it is something that's important to coaches, especially when they're considering, especially at the collegiate level, because they're considering sort of the types of play style. So if you want, let's say, a right winger who's right footed, he or she is going to go down the line and probably cross it more often than they're going to cut in. But if the coach likes the wingers to go inside, then they might want a left footed player on the right side. You get the picture. Right. So personal profile. So this is actually a great section that this person or this like pre-segment has already put in there. So this is a 1 to 2 sentence blurb about who you are as a player. And I know it is sometimes, I'm actually in the process of helping a very close friend of mine build her resume. She is a standout SPU player and captain this past year. She's a fantastic player. She and I have been working together for a really long time, and she's trying to go pro in Europe. And one of the things that's really difficult for a lot of players is talking about themselves in a really neutral way. So yes, you want to be confident in the types of words you use, but you also don't want to overinflate yourself, because you put, I'm the best player in the country in my little blurb, and they see you play and they're like, well, you're not. You know what I mean? So you really have to learn how to do it neutrally. So for me, personal profile, I would say, I'm just totally thinking on the spot here. I would say I am a technical defender who is confident on the ball, breaks defensive lines well, and can distribute from anywhere on the pitch. I also pride myself on my work ethic and ability to lead well. Boom. So technical defender, confident on the ball, breaks defensive lines well, and can distribute the ball. And then I work hard and I'm pretty good at leadership, right? So that's like 5 or 6 things, really quick, 2 sentences that you just say, that's me, right? So that's a really good synopsis. And what that does is that cues the person who's looking at your CV, it cues them for your highlight video or to watch you in person if you're at a showcase. For those of you who are on the younger end, who are going to high school showcases and stuff like that, or even inviting coaches or scouts to a professional game or a semi-professional game like a Cultures United game, right? Let me grab a quick drink of water, and then we'll continue this in experience, because this is a really, really important thing. I would actually combine these two, because this is like a work resume, but I'll shift this over to a soccer resume in just a sec. Okay, so we're gonna combine this into one. So I'm actually, let's just delete that. Okay. How do I want to do this? Well, they're making it a little bit more difficult than I thought, but that's okay. So playing experience. Okay. And then, so for me, because I am, so if I was doing this as a high school student, my first thing would be Crossfire Premiere, and it would be, oh God, I'm gonna do this as if I was now, just because I don't want to do the dates in my head. So Michigan Stars FC, and then NISA. So I want to put the league next to it. So if you're RCL, or if you're women's Washington Premier League, if you're whatever league, you want to put that next to it. And then for me, this is Detroit, Michigan, and then that little bar, and then I'll go 2022 to present. Okay, so all that does. And then underneath that, what I would do is I would probably do a dot and say, like, let's say 2 games, and I got to update this. So at the end of the season, if I've played, let's say we had 30 games total, I played 25 games. So 25 games played. And let's say I started 15 of them, right? So 15 games started. And I scored 2 goals and had 5 assists, right? So there, so you got a little blurb about, and you may even want to consolidate this to like, these are just like little details, but you could do this as well. So you could go like 2 goals, comma, 5 assists, right? So that little thing right there, right? Like this little Michigan Stars thing, I want to add this type of thing underneath, going backwards in time from the present. So for me, it would be Michigan Stars, then it would be Cultures United, then it would be Rockingham City FC in Australia, Fremantle City FC in Australia, LA Force in Nisa, and then what would it be? Then Real Union de Irún in Spain, and then Oosterbro IF in Denmark, right? So that's like going all the way back, and then Whitman College at the very bottom. But at this point, because I'm 26 now, college is like, it doesn't really matter that much. And as you get older, you'll start to delete the things on the bottom of your resume, if that makes sense, right? So, and then over here, you want to do contact information. So you really want to have an email. Email is super important, especially for the collegiate guys who are younger, who want to get into the collegiate game, and also for people who want to get in the professional game. So oftentimes clubs you can just call up, that's no problem, but email is super important. And I do not want, so for me, for Noah Cavanaugh, right, I want my email should say either my full name, some form of initials. It shouldn't be like my old junk email address from, I don't know what it was, 3rd grade or 4th grade maybe, was like ncswim007, like 007 @gmail.com. That's not an email that I want to have for a college or a club or any sort of professional environment, right? I want my email to look really nice, look professional, all that. You don't have to put your phone number, but I would recommend putting a cell phone number. If you don't have a cell phone, I would recommend putting a parent or guardian's cell phone number, somebody who is close to you. I imagine for those of you Cultures players, if you don't have access to a phone that can be readily accessible, ask Seba, and I bet you could put Seba's number on your resume as a contact person if somebody wanted to watch you play, right? So you can always find those types of people. So for instance, when I was playing for Cultures, if I didn't have access to a phone, I would have told Seba like, hey, is it okay if I put your phone number on there? Because then if, let's say, a team in California or a team in Michigan here saw me play and wanted to contact somebody, Seba would be my first point of contact because I talk to him very often, right? Does that make sense? So, and then if you have a LinkedIn, any other social media profiles you have, again, sort of a small tangent, being on social media is great. It is not necessary to do what I do, which is have a full YouTube channel, business surrounding that, plus, Instagram content and all that stuff. But if you type in my name on Google, the first entire page of Google is all stuff that I've been involved in, right? So personal branding is amazing and it's a really good thing to do, but it's also not necessary. However, the caveat to that is if I'm a coach and let's say I look at, and Seba's a player and I go to Seba's thing and I go to his Instagram and it's full of him at parties, or it's him drinking, or it's him, I don't know, doing things that are just like not ideal or unsavory or something, it doesn't look good on you. And I know players who are incredibly talented who have total BS on their social media profiles and are literally told to go away because the club doesn't want that image in their club. Does that make sense? Right? So that's something to think about as well when you are linking your Instagram or your LinkedIn or YouTube channel or whatever, right? Skills summary. This is not necessary for a soccer resume, but what you can do is you can, instead of doing this personal profile, you can do the skills summary. So the top 3, 4, 5 things that you're really good at, and be honest about them, and maybe be really pointed about hey, this is the stuff you're going to see in my highlight video, right? So that's really important. And then the awards received. This can go separately or it can go right under Michigan Stars. So let's say in Michigan, at the end of the season, I get, let's see, let's go bold, and I'll go, let's say I got all conference or all NISA second team, right? So all NISA second team. I want to put that award in the bottom, or what I do is I'd pull it out and I do all of the awards separately, but I date them. So, you know, all NISA second team, or if I went over here, I'd say all, I don't know why this is so bloody, all NISA, this is so small. I'm sorry, guys. For those of you on your phones, I apologize. Second team, and then 2022. Okay, so we'll do this and I'll zoom in. Okay, all NISA second team 2022. That's if it's separate, you want the date there. If it's not separate, like here, Michigan Stars, where it is, blah, blah, blah. Then the last piece that is absolutely essential, this, like, you might as well not even make a CV if you don't put this in here, your references. The references are unbelievably important, okay? So it's so critical to put references. So for me, I would probably put my Rockingham City FC coach first, because he is one of the coaches who saw extreme potential in me, made me captain of the team essentially at this pro team in Australia, and was an absolute crazy influence on my life. I would make Seba one of my references. Here we go, admit. I would make Seba one of my references because he understands not only who I am as a player, but also as a person and as an individual. And that is actually almost more important than the playing aspect of things. Because if you get a call, if Sebastian gets a call from, let's say, you know, again, Michigan Stars, right, where I am now. If Michigan Stars, if the owner calls him up or the coach calls him up and he says, hey, we're looking at this guy, Noah Cavanaugh, he's the left back, you know, how is he as a player? And Seba's like, he's been doing well for us. He's scored some goals. He's had some assists. He's a great guy to have around the team. Or excuse me, you know, he says the great stuff about the playing, but then he, you know, I'm a crap person off the field, right? Oh, he's not that good to be around. That team's gonna say, you know what, who cares? But the point of having somebody on your resume who not only knows you well, but understands you and your story, that stuff is so important. So I'd always put, again, first, I want maybe the highest level coach you've had so far. So if that's the UPSL, amazing. If that's your club coach, amazing. If that's somebody else, amazing. Then you want to put people who are in your life who are not only mentors, but are professionals in that area. So for me, it's people like Seba, it's people like one of my mentors, Dr. Colleen Hacker, who's she's the sports psychologist for the US women's national team. So that's a huge reference for me. She's been an absolute influence on my life. So that's somebody who I'd put in there. And a couple other people, right? So references. It's so important to have those in there. So let's go. So does that all make sense, right? I know I only sort of half filled this out, but hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then I'm gonna look over. If there's any questions about that stuff, throw them in the comments or in the chat really quick, and I'll address them as we sort of finish up this section on the CV. Okay, I see a couple other questions about other stuff. So Sebastian also mentioned in there, not just with email, but even social media needs to have something professional. Yep, absolutely. Teams nowadays want to have players rostered who all aspects of their lives are professional. That's a huge point. Really important. So the road to playing professionally is very competitive. Every little thing you can do to give point in your favor includes first impression is good. Yes. So Sebastian speaking absolute facts. Those are super, super important. Okay. Any other questions? I'll give it maybe just a second. I'm going to mute myself, grab a quick drink of water, and then give yourself like 30 seconds really quick, and then I'll be back just to answer. We'll start going through those chat questions and talk about agency and all that stuff. But if there's anything else you guys want to know about the CV, let me know. Awesome. Okay, so Seba asked, what about putting link to your highlight video on your CV? Okay, that's a fantastic question. So yes, if it's embedded. And basically what that means is like, here, let's share my screen again. Okay, so if I go in here and let's say, let's go to YouTube and type in Noah Cavanaugh highlights. Okay, so if we were to do this and we were to copy link address, so that's like one of my more recent highlight videos. And let's go, excuse me, back into here. And that would be like, maybe we'll put it there. Okay. Oops. Right. So this, and I don't understand. The embedding thing confuses me, but yes, if you can basically make it so that no matter where this is, the person who opens this document can just click on that link. The problem with having this not embedded, so obviously I'm double clicking on this, it's not going to pop up. I don't want to have to go in, like the coach doesn't want to have to go in, highlight this, copy, and then paste it into YouTube, right? So what I would always recommend is I recommend putting your CV together. Yeah, you can have that link in there if it's embedded. If it's not, you can put it in anyway, but then you always, always, always want to put in the email the link to your highlight video. So if I'm going to go in and I'm going to send an email to Sebastian, right? If I want to play for Cultures United, I send an email with my highlight video linked, and then attached is that resume. Okay, so cool. Awesome. And then at the very bottom, can we include accomplishments in our resume, like winning the league and trophies with teams? Yeah, absolutely. So that's that last part I mentioned. So you can put your accolades, accomplishments on the side, just make sure to date them, or you can put them underneath each of your, like the team. So if, again, for me, if Michigan Stars, if I get, all NISA second team this year, or all NISA honorable mention or whatever, I would put it underneath the team. And that's an easy one. So good question there. Okay, let's start going through a couple of the, actually really quick, I'll ask to unmute. Seba, is there anything else you want me to go over for the resume part of it? No worries. Okay, no problem. He put in quite a bit of stuff in the chat anyway. So yeah, again, if you have any more questions about the CV stuff, no problem. So let's start going through some of these. So Jordan said agency, and then Kyle followed up. Let's see. So Jordan said agency, and then Kyle followed up, like, at what point and stage is it a good time to consider getting an agent? So this is a good question. So I would recommend, if you're in college and you want to play professionally, I think an agent is a really good way to go, because they can vouch for you on a personal level, as well as a playing level. So an agent knows you personally, again, similar to Sebastian, right? Like, he knows me really well. He's able to vouch for me as a person, but also as a player. And registered agents have a lot more credibility than, say, a normal coach or something who doesn't have the agent as part of their title, right? So that's super, super important. Oh yeah, here you go. Unmute. Seba, did you want to add anything?
Sorry, I was my baby was kind of needing my attention, but no, Luke, I just want to say, I think this is very important. Like,
for us to get, look, we're living in a time where like technology, all these things, man, there's all kinds of players all over the world using tools to their advantage. Like, for example, Noah has his own YouTube channel. He has his own brand. Like, you do an amazing job with social media, right? Teams are realizing that, and like when you go look at like the pages of players that play for professional teams, not only can they perform in the field, but also they have something else going for themselves, right? It's almost like a package deal. It's almost like you have to sell a package deal to these teams. So whatever you can do to yourself to for your advantage is an investment. It's an investment that will pay off, right? So teams are gonna see, hey, this guy or this girl is super committed. Look at their page; it looks professional. Not only are they come to practice, they play good, they do what they're supposed to in the field, but outside of the field, they're doing extra stuff, and all that just plays an something to your advantage. Now, it is like all these tools that Noah's showing us, like Canva and doing your CV. Obviously, this is one way of doing it. You can find out how to do it yourself and using other tools or whatever. Maybe you're not really good at it, so maybe you reach out to somebody, because there's all kinds of people on like Instagram or even just out there that will do the CV for you. You pay them like 20, 25 bucks and they'll make a CV, a professional looking CV for you. That works too. You know, you're not supposed to know everything. So if that's what you feel comfortable with, that's fine. But still, you know, try to do like the most you can do for yourself outside of the field, right? Obviously, we know that as players, we should be eating well, we should be exercising, we should be doing recovery, we should be doing taking care of our mental health, right? All these things. But also, in outside of that, what's other things that you can do? And that's exactly what we're talking about today. Like, those are little things that will make a difference, that give will give you like a chance of having a better presentation, a chance of having a good first impression, because coaches and teams look at that, like especially professional teams, they have somebody looking at, okay, this is our list of people I came to tryouts. They'll look at like, okay, this is his experience, this is where he comes from, this is how old he is, this is his social media. They'll investigate, and like Noah was saying, if you're a type of player that has a bunch of pictures that have alcohol, that have partying, that have things that are not totally not related to the life of a professional soccer player, they're most likely gonna say like, he's a really good player, but we'll pass. Let's see who else is available, right? So those are all little things that will make a difference, in the opportunities that will open up for you. So the recommendation is invest in yourself. Really invest in yourself. These are just all little investments for yourself that will make a difference. I think honestly, the dream is alive. You know, you're the only one that gets to decide whether the dream is alive or not. The way you decide that is through these little investments, right? And nothing. I mean, we're here to answer questions. Like, even after this workshop that we have going on, you can send us a message or an email, and we can point you in the right direction, because it's really all about like the growth. You know, we want to see people get a fair chance, and that's exactly what we're doing in this workshop, is so that you get empowered with the information that we see is being useful. So like me, from my side of things, being a sports manager, this is the things I'm seeing. Noah, being a professional soccer player, those are the things that he's seeing, that the things that work. And we're not going to be coming and sharing and preaching about things that are not really working. We're going to preach to you about the things that we see are working, and the things that like we experience in this field. at the end of the day, it's really up to you what you want to grab, and obviously make that information yours. Just do what you want to do with it. Be authentic in your own ways. And like I said, if you have questions or anything, just let us know. Send us a message, or even right here. And don't be shy. Don't be shy to speak up, man. Like, there was so many times when I was young, and I'm like, kind of, I regret not asking questions, not asking enough questions, because you're afraid. Oh, like, you know, what are they gonna say? Really, it's not about that. It's all about, like, you, like, making sure that you're getting the information that you need. So don't be afraid to ask questions, because that's why we're here.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. So again, like, that's, I think everything that Seba said is on point. And there's a lot of things that from his perspective and that from my perspective, I would say it's all aligning, coming from two different perspectives, right? The player perspective and also the manager perspective. And you see the same reality right in the middle, which is the experience of the recruiting, the experience of the player as an entity, or as a brand, as a person, right? That stuff's really, really important. Okay, so let's jump back into agency. At the very bottom, Jordan, you said, what about my age? And is that here, I can ask you to unmute. Is that in relation to, like, you being a professional, or is that putting your age on your CV?
Can you hear me?
Yep, all good.
Yeah, so basically, like, I mean, shit, I'm 27, like, going professional. So, like, I know they usually stop looking after 27, like, all right, this guy's damn near 30, so why would we even take him when we got cool, fresh 18-year-olds and shit like that?
Yep. Perfect. So that's a really good one. Awesome. So yeah, I'll address that really quick. So yeah, so age is an interesting one. So some coaches are of the opinion that it's all, so let me answer this first by saying, sometimes it's about, soccer is a game of opinions, especially at the professional level. It's all about opinions. You could be the best player on the field and get cut because the manager thinks your socks are dirty. Like, I'm making that up sort of, but like, that's literally, like, I've seen people get cut for less than that. And it's crazy the type of petty stuff that happens, especially at the professional level. And I would say finding an organization or a coach or an owner who really likes you and believes in you as a person and as a player is, like, goes above and beyond age. So let's say, right, Jordan, for you, you're 27, I'm only 1 year younger. So that's, again, like, you have every right to make it as a pro as I do. So long as, again, the givens are, you put in the effort, and I know you do, you're working hard, you're taking care of your body, you're recovering well, you're not doing stupid stuff on the weekends. And you're really, like, you have to go 100% at this, because the amount of people in the world who are trying to make it to the professional level it's an ungodly number of players who say they want to go pro, but you have to go 100% at it. So what I would say is age is almost irrelevant at some level, because as long as you're good enough, as long as you have the right attitude, as long as you're a good teammate, you're a good person to have on a squad or in the locker room, everything else can. And then, of course, maybe you find an agent who can help you out. Maybe you have a good resume. Maybe you, whatever those things are. And to be fair, it might take a little bit of grinding. It might take going to a bunch of open tryouts and seeing what kind of connections you can make, because you never know. Some person at a local tryout might have played in Germany or might have played at USL championship level, and they're like, wow, you're really good. I want to connect you with my coach, right? Everything can happen. So it's all about, how do you think outside the box, make as many connections as possible. And all of that can fall into place, again, so long as, and a lot of people don't quite get this 100%, so long as you are doing everything you possibly can off the pitch. So again, food, sleep, rest periods, mobility and strength and conditioning, fitness level. Like you should be. So for instance, here's a great example. My coach here, Trevor Banks at Michigan Stars. So we've had trialists, in and out over the course of the last 10 weeks or so since I've been here. I've been signed since about 2 months ago, but let's just say since the point I've been signed and I've secured, I've got a contract, whatever. Other guys have come in and they're on occasion are the unlucky trialists who come in on fitness days. And if those guys can't even make the cut, I guess, for our fitness tests and for the days that we do fitness and lifting and stuff, and they're just like, they crash or they pull out because of a hamstring injury or whatever, they get cut, period. Right? So it's not even like, you won't even get looked at if you're not fit enough, if you're not taking care of your body enough, if you don't have, all the stuff in line. So again, as much as age might seem like something that's super important, which to some extent it is, yes and no, all the rest of the stuff is so much more important. Like it's so much more important. I mean, you have guys like Jamie Vardy, who, he's now 33 or something like that. But he made his professional debut at like 25 or 26 and won a English Premier League, right? So you still have lots of time. Like you're just now hitting, like a man's peak, like a male bodied human's peak is at like between 27 and like 30, I think. So you that's like athletic peak performance. So anyway, hope that answers your question. So jumping into agency. So at what stage is it good time to consider an agent? Are agents truly necessary? Or can you market yourself via email, social media, etc.? Agents are incredibly beneficial because they have essentially what you're doing when you pay an agent. So I'm with One Pro Sports Management, or OPSM. You may know them from several different players, but that's who I am represented by. And OPSM, I pay them because they have personal connections. I'm paying for their network essentially. And in football and soccer, connections are everything. They're everything. Like almost nothing is more important than that. So so you're buying essentially connections every month or whatever, if it's a subscription service or whether it's a percentage of your contract, like whatever it is. So agents, in my opinion, are very, very good. They're a great investment. Seba said this earlier, you're making investments in yourself. That's something that I might consider making an investment in. At what point, depends on how old you are. I think if you're in high school, like, yes, there are some agencies, like actually OPSM actually represents some high school athletes so that they can, basically OPSM helps them get into college. But I don't know if you need one to get into college. I think that's more of a club soccer, go to showcases, that type of stuff. If you are in college and you want to go pro, having an agent might be a great way to go, just because you really get an idea of the options that you have, because an agent will have a much more objective view of you as a player, because they'll say, this person, this left back, in my instance, it might be this player's, a good player, great leadership capability, great left foot, crosses the ball well, has great fitness, blah, blah, blah. He might say, or she might say, okay, Noah belongs in USL Championship or Nisa or the second division in Finland or something like that. And that's not an agent coming to me promising League One in France, trials with, I don't know, Lyon or something like that, right? Like there are a lot of scam places out there, but if you find an agent who really believes in you, but is also there to provide you realistic opportunities and help you grow, that's the best kind of agency to be represented by. You can market yourself individually and you can call up head coaches and stuff, but it takes a lot of digging. And again, with an agent, instead of me texting 300 different athletes and coaches and social media accounts on Instagram, I just tell, I grab my phone, call my agent Jeff and from OPSM and go, hey Jeff, I want to get connected with a guy in Finland. Can you do that? And within 24 hours, I have a head coach on my phone, right? So that's the difference that an agent makes, which is really, really cool. Okay. What are proven paths to pro in America for people who didn't play in academy or college? One thing that I will say is that nothing is proven, because there aren't proven ways to do anything, because there's no right or wrong way to do it, other than some of the stuff that Seba talked about with the social media things, making sure everything looks professional on the outside and hopefully the inside, because it definitely catches up to you. So even for players who played academy and NCAA, it is still incredibly difficult to play professionally. And I say that from experience, but I also say that from watching friends of mine who are far more talented than me and far better players than me not make it to the professional game for whatever reason, right? So that's something to consider, right? It takes a little bit of luck. It takes a little bit of grit and a little bit of grind and a little bit of willingness to be uncomfortable. That's something that I always tell players. You got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, whether it's living in a tiny apartment to try and make ends meet, or whether it's, I don't know, like living on $5 a day for food in Spain, whatever. I mean, those are just experiences that I've had that are awesome. Like, they've taught me so much. And also, like, it sucked at moments, and that's something you got to be prepared for. So again, playing pro, all of the things that we mentioned, as I mentioned to Jordan earlier, hopefully this will help in context. It's all the stuff that you do, not just age, but it's all of the stuff you do off and on the field that matter. And it has to be a lifestyle. It can't be, oh, I act like a pro on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. No. So I'll give you an example. We've had training Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Today's Saturday, yep. So 5 days in a row. We had like one of the hardest fitness days I've ever done on Tuesday. And it was tough, like tough. And we did kind of like a good, little bit lighter session Wednesday. And then we went hard Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We have 2 days off for the first time in 10 weeks since I've been here. 2 days in a row off instead of like just one, usually a week. And I can guarantee you there are some guys who are going to go out and they're going to party and they're going to go drink and maybe they'll smoke, maybe they'll do whatever. But that's not being a pro 24/7. That's not what takes you to the top level. The guys who are going to stay home and, again, recover, play video games, talk to your parents, me being on this call with you guys, like, that's stuff that you can do to keep you in that mindset of got to be focused on it every single day. Because it really does, like for me, let's even say I live 80 years on this earth. If I'm lucky, I will play until I'm professionally until I'm 33 to 35. Like if I'm really lucky, I'm 26 now. That gives me less than 10 years to like really push it. And then after that, I've got the rest of my life to party and drink and do whatever. And this is, I'm rambling a little bit here because I'm really fired up about this idea. And it's always, I know some of you guys are young. Some of you guys might not understand this concept yet, but I know that some of you guys who are my age or older will understand this a little bit more. It is worth sacrificing some of the simple pleasures, so to speak, now for later in life when you can afford that, when you don't have something physical that you're trying to do, right? Soccer is one of those things where your body has to be on point every single time, right? Okay, long-winded answer. Thank you for that. Seba, you're welcome to clip that and put it on Instagram. Okay, how do I adapt as quickly as possible in a new team and overcome imposter syndrome? Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, so where do I start with this one? I think everything can be maybe not fixed, but everything can be sorted out by going back and keeping in mind and focusing on the belief in your ability, not an outcome. You always want to have, there's two things that sometimes happen. There's process focused people and there's outcome focused people. Outcome focused people will look at a game and say, you won 1-0. That must have been really tight game. Process focused people go, that game was 1-0, but the team that got the one goal possessed the ball for 80% of the time, right? That's a process focused person. For me, my checklist, I don't have it right here, but I have a list of stuff. So I actually journal before and after, not journal, set goals, mini goals, before and after every single training session, every day. And we train every day. So I'm sitting in there an hour and a half before training session in the locker room or whatever. And I write down things that are not, I want to complete X amount of passes. That's outcome goal. I want to revert back to process goals. So you're talking about imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome, for me at least, my understanding of it is, whoa, I'm not as good as I think I am. I'm in this place where, everybody's so good and I feel like an imposter because I shouldn't be here. I don't deserve to be here. I'm not good enough to be here. Says who though? Because clearly if you're in a situation, like for me, I'm signed at a club and I'm the club, the president, the whatever, they think I'm good enough to be here. But I don't even care about that necessarily, because my focus is, do I believe in my own abilities? Every single time I get the ball or I'm moving or I'm checking my shoulder or whatever, I believe that I'm going to beat the next guy, or I believe in my ability to pass the ball. It's not, do I think I'm going to play it or do I actually do it? It's, do I have belief in my abilities? And I know this is a little bit complicated to understand, but it's always about having belief in your abilities and focusing on the process. So the just keep digging for gold thing. You sometimes, some of you guys might have seen that analogy of like the guy digging for gold, and the gold is like literally one more shovel away, but he stops because he's like, oh, I'm giving up because it's too much. No, grind every single day, believe in your abilities. And then it comes down to, okay, my confidence in myself is untouchable, is immovable, regardless of what happens on the pitch. Because if you focus too much on outcome, you're going to miss passes. So if you're focused, if your confidence is all based in the way that you perform on the pitch, it's going to do this. Your confidence is going to go like this. You're going to play like shit. You're going to do all sorts of stuff, right? But if you're process focused and I believe in my abilities, my belief in my abilities doesn't change. So regardless of what the outcome is, my belief in my abilities is going to stay the same and my performances will go up. It's just the way it works. Okay, so that's a good start to that. And I ideally would be able to go way more in depth on that, but that is literally like a 12-hour conversation. Like a genuine, like that stuff is all based in sports psychology. Okay, how easy / difficult was it to get those pro trials? Did your agent need to organize it? So I finished the season with Cultures, and almost immediately was basically told you've got to be ready at any point to jump and go to different trials. That is all the agent's work. I did absolutely zero other than to crush it at Cultures and then do my best to be literally as fit as possible up until the point that I was given the ready to go. So for context, I was supposed to go Michigan Stars. Then if that didn't work, I was going to go to the other NISA team in Arizona, which they're doing really well right now. Then I was going to go to Chattanooga, which is another NISA team. And if none of those worked out, I had 3 trials, so 6, I guess. So I had 3 trials lined up in the professional leagues in Finland, right? So that is all my agents. I literally did none of that. So he basically, my agent basically told me, here's the team, here's your schedule, book your flights, we'll get you all sorted out, ready to go, right? So that's, so if from my perspective, it was easy as heck to get those trials because I didn't do anything. I just focused, again, process focus. We're going to come back to this a couple times. So it's all process focus. So my focus was completely on getting better every day, doing the weight lift 4 days a week, doing my fitness, doing my training with cultures, training with other pro guys in the Seattle area, doing all the things necessary so that, I'm grinding my heads down. So as soon as I get the call, oh, Jeff, okay, you need to be in Michigan tomorrow. Cool. I'm ready and I'm going to crush it. Right? Makes sense? Okay. Nico also asked, oh yeah, no, that was good. Can we include accomplishments on our resume? I already answered that. Awesome. Okay. So that answers basically everything in the chat. If you guys do have, maybe we'll take a 30-second break. And if there's any follow-ups to what I spoke about, I know that was a long-winded sort of explanation of some things. But if you have any follow-ups, let me know in the chat or you can put your little hand emoji if you want to ask the question out loud, and I'll sort of start unmuting people if you want to do that. But take 30 seconds, grab a drink of water, do whatever you need, and then we'll be back in just a sec. All right. So Jordan, I see your message in the chat, so that's awesome. Really quick, Kyle, I will unmute you. What is your question, boss?
So I have two. I'll start off with the first one for you, Noah. I know you were telling us a little bit about your story. Like, my internet was kind of cutting out when you're in the middle of that, so I kind of heard bits and pieces. Mm-hmm. At what point did you feel like you were ready to like go pro? Like, because I mean, we're in that, a lot of us like here, we're between like high school or like college or like in that bubble, like so like higher level amateur with aspirations looking to go pro. So like, mm-hmm. Confidence wise for you, like at what point did you think that like, okay, like I feel like I'm ready? Or do you feel like you had to kind of like put yourself like, as far as like out of your comfort zone to feel like to get to that next spot? I mean, because like confidence wise, like it kind of comes and goes. I feel like for, especially like for me, like what, like whether you're in form or not.
So that's exactly what I was talking about with process versus outcome goals, right? So if you're talking about confidence coming and going, that's because you're either playing well or you're not playing well. So again, focusing on, hey, I believe in my ability every time I get the ball, regardless of what happens. I accept a range of results, but no matter what happens, I'm always going to be flatline. I'm always going to be confident in my abilities, right? So that's what I would say, first of all. Second of all is, I would not be here today if I didn't put myself in uncomfortable situations. So at some level, it's not about whether you're ready or not, because if you want to be at a top level, you can't not do the uncomfortable stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So for instance, let's say with Spain, right? So right after graduating college, played, killed it senior year, scored a bunch of goals as a defender, got like player of the year, blah, 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 all these accolades. I was pretty neutral, to be fair, but I was stoked. I was like, yeah, cool. I got all these things. But then I go to the pro level in Spain, and that's a totally different level, like complete. It's not even in the same dimension. Like, it's not even close. And I've got guys who are 16 and 17 who would have dribbled circles around anybody in the league that I played college in. Like, they're that good. So if I didn't, but at the same time, I knew that if I'm going to play at some point in my career, if I want to play MLS, if I want to play in first division somewhere in the world, I had to take that step at some point. Who cares if I would have gotten cut in that trip and had to fly home? It doesn't matter, because I would have at least seen like, okay, this is where those guys are at. This is where I need to be. Okay, then we start working, right? So it's always putting yourself, and you might be super uncomfortable at first, but again, process. Just keep digging, keep playing. It doesn't matter, again, yes, in some sense it matters, but always gotta, sorry, really quick. Seba, no problem. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, brother.
So no, I guess a little follow up to that. Would you prefer hopping on a team, like let's say whatever level it is, whether it's like UPSL or college? Would you rather hop on a team, let's say it's like in the same league or conference, where the quality of players and like the style of play, like supposedly is better? So like meaning like the training sessions, like the rondos, like the scrimmages would be like more intense, or would you rather hop on a team that the quality of play is a little bit lower, but you get more playing time? Because I mean that kind of goes back to like the whole question of being putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, right? So I think
Sure.
if you're on a better team, you probably have to earn your spot and actually compete for a position.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. I'd say, I mean, assuming these teams are in the same league, like if they're I mean, if they're in the same league, then it's kind of like you go where the playing time is, because you end up playing against those players in games anyway. That being said, like if you want to get the highest level training every single time, maybe you go and do something else. But again, it all depends on the type of league. So if you're talking about like a UPSL league where you're getting if you're getting only 2 days a week training, is it really making that much of a difference? Like, wouldn't you rather crush it in games and essentially, and again, I don't want to say like guarantee playing time, but like, you're going to play all the games versus like you might get some playing time, but you'll get 2 days a week of like hit or miss training sessions. That's what I mean. I guess it's sort of a toss up. There are pros and cons to both. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. For me, it's like a gut feeling usually. I've never really been in a situation where I've had to choose between two teams in the same league, other than like, oh, I guess that's not true. Okay, so in youth soccer, when I was playing at Emerald City and Seattle United, and then I switched over to Crossfire in the same age group, but a team that I had played against. The reason I switched was because the best teams in the league at a club level and at a collegiate level get looked at much more than the teams that aren't as good. So even if you're right, so even if I rode the bench, I didn't, but even if I rode the bench at Crossfire, at least I would still be going to all of the best tournaments in the country, as opposed to being at Seattle United, who at the time weren't a top club team and were still in the RCL of Washington State, but they weren't going to Surf Cup, Disney, Dallas Showcase, like all these things. Whereas if I went to Crossfire, sure, we'd crush everybody in the league, but then we'd go to the national tournaments where you get college coaches, professional scouts, blah, blah, blah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Cool. Awesome. Great questions. Again, if you have any follow-ups, feel free to like DM me on Instagram or and we can have more conversations on that if you have any follow-ups again.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool. Yeah, of course. Okay, let's address Jordan's in the chat. See ya, Nicholas. Thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate it. Let's see. And then Jordan asks, let's talk about the cost of everything, like paying for agency, then all the cost of traveling. Okay, so I mean, travel cost is always pretty expensive. I guess it depends on where you're going. If you can drive there, amazing. If you have to fly, then it's about like timing and stuff. What I would recommend genuinely is like, if you like, the younger you are, the better. Start saving. Get an account that's literally like maybe a savings account at a local bank, wherever you are, and just put money aside every month or every time you get a paycheck, or for Christmas or whatever. If you get some money, like throw it in there and start to save, because it does get pretty expensive. I always tell people, like, if you genuinely want to go for an opportunity worldwide, I'd say have somewhere in the ballpark of like anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000 like in a bank account, so that at a whim you could fly across the world for for an opportunity that could get you signed somewhere. And that's just the reality of it. Like, that's just like, it does get expensive if clubs aren't willing to fly you out. And that's usually because if somebody, you know, if you're a player who doesn't have a resume or doesn't have any pro experience, they might say, hey, you're welcome to come trial with us, but you have to pay for your flights and then we'll house you while we're here. So that's what Michigan did, right? So Michigan wanted me. I paid for my flight because I wanted to get it done really quick. And then they paid for housing and food and stuff while I was here. And then, of course, now that they're paying me, I have my own apartment and blah, blah, blah. So then it works itself out. But as far as like cost goes, again, you're looking at domestic flights anywhere between, you know, $100 to a local place in Oregon or California from the Seattle area all the way up to like, you know, $400 or $500 round trip to somewhere like New York or Philly or I don't know, Florida or something like that. Sometimes you can get them cheaper. Sometimes they're more expensive. Airbnbs, if you have to do your own accommodation, Airbnb for me is more Airbnb or VRBO or whatever housing is honestly better. If the team's not going to provide something, I always recommend doing that because then you have your own kitchen instead of buying meals out every day. So if you're gonna, it's cheaper, like doing the math, at least in my head and on paper, like I've done this before, like going and getting an Airbnb for 5 days in Detroit is cheaper because I can buy groceries, which I can do super cheap meals, you know, rice, chicken, and a salad or something every meal if I have to, or eggs in the morning and then banana, rice, chicken, whatever salad, really cheap stuff. You can like that plus an Airbnb cost is often less than getting a hotel and eating out every meal. So think about it from that perspective. Oftentimes, especially at professional club level, bunch of players will have cars. So you don't have to get like a, I don't know, you don't have to get a rental car or whatever, or a one of those like car share companies. So that's a good option as well. So just make sure that you communicate with the coach or with the owner and say, hey, I'm interested in coming. You've invited me for a trial. Where do the majority of what area do the majority of players live in? You get an Airbnb at that place and then you're rocking and rolling. You can get a ride to training from one of the players. So that's usually how it works. That's how it's worked with all the trialists who are here. Obviously, because I live with my wife in this apartment, and one of my other teammates lives in the same apartment complex, we travel to training together every day. So we don't pick up anybody, but a lot of the guys who are single or don't have, you know, families, they are in an apartment complex that's probably 5 minutes away or 10 minutes away from here, and they live in apartments with like 3 other players. So, you know, 3 or 4 players live in an apartment together. So that's pretty easy, and you usually you can sleep on a floor for a week or whatever it is. So again, there are ways to cut cost, and I think there are ways to make it work. But it is pretty expensive if you don't have an agent. Agency fees, which is the first part of your question. So I don't recommend, unless it's paying for a specific combine or trial, I often don't recommend, if an agent says, give me $1,000 and I'll get you a trial at Monaco, or they'll say, I don't know, DC United or like whatever, I wouldn't do that because it's just a money grab and it's probably just an open trial and it's not worth it. The way that OPSM did it, and this is why OPSM is such a good place to be, for me at least, and sometimes so for them, the way that I'm not like, I don't work for them, so I'm not trying to like push their brand at all, but basically their model is you become a pro prospect player and you pay like a subscription service per month that gets you all the connections, all the trial combine fees paid for, all that's, meetings once a month, or I think it's once a week or once every other week. They've got a bunch of stuff on their website that basically explains like everything you get with a subscription. And then once they help you, and then, you get help with fitness stuff, you get help with technical work, you get help with like finding local teams to play for, blah, blah, blah. Then once you've done that and you get signed, then you become a pro player in their thing. So you no longer pay a subscription, you pay based on your contract. So usually it's 10%. Sometimes it's less than that, but usually it's about 10%. So let's say you make, I don't know, you get housing and you get $1,000 in stipend. So they would take $100 a month, and you would have 900 or 700 or whatever with after tax or whatever it is, and you get housing, and then you have food or money to pay for food and utilities and all that stuff. Hopefully that answers your question. Obviously, Jordan, you and I have spoken separately about a couple of things, so feel free to reach out if you have any other questions regarding that. But that's sort of like a big picture synopsis of like everything that kind of goes into that stuff. So 10% roughly for agents, and then I recommend anywhere between two to 5,000 in a bank account that you can just pull immediately. That just like, okay, I got to go to this place, I got to go to this trial, I know it's a solid option because XYZ. Cool. Awesome, guys. Well, heck yeah. That was a blast. We have been on for almost 90 minutes now. So I will probably wrap things up now. But again, if you have, really quick, some of you guys this is a like pre-plug for anybody who's interested. I don't know if anyone here wears grip socks, but I do. And I'm actually signing with a company soon that's going to sponsor the channel, which I'm very stoked about. And if you guys want to check their grip sock company out, I have been using their stuff for about 2 months now, and then am now deciding to sign with them. But if you guys do want grip socks, I have a discount code for that. I know this is I haven't announced it to like the general public / YouTube yet, but since you guys are on this call, so here's the link in the chat, and then discount code is all lowercase. All lowercase. Be awesome is the discount code, so you get 10% off if you guys want. So we'll put that out there. Okay, so if any of you guys have questions on if any of you guys have questions about anything that I spoke about today, my Instagram is at noah.cavanaugh. I'll throw it in there as well. On Instagram, obviously you've got I'll see if I can, let me grab my YouTube channel really quick. So if you guys need anything that is, there we go. Oops, sorry. Jordan, I just sent that to you. Oops, there's the YouTube channel, at noah.cavanaugh on Instagram. So again, all of the content, lots of information coming on the YouTube channel as well. There's tons of videos about all sorts of mindset stuff, all sorts of, all sorts of stuff, boot reviews, blah, blah, blah. But more importantly is all the playing stuff that happens, all the other stuff. Jordan just dipped because he has a game to go to. That's fantastic. Yeah. So anyway, reach out to me on Instagram if you guys do have any questions, and then we will, I'm more than happy to spend time talking to you guys, because I think this stuff is really important, and it's important that you guys get this information ASAP. So yes. Awesome. Kyle, last thought?
Yeah, real quick. I know you probably have things to do. You got to go. But when you graduated college, was that first trip, that exposure trip to go to Spain, that was like your first kind of like time or like experience like with the pro team? Is that right?
I went to Denmark my junior year. So basically like in college, we were allowed like we could go study abroad. And that was my junior year. So in the spring of my junior year, I was like, ooh, this is awesome. Because the Danish season was from January till July or August. So I just decided to go and like, study abroad, like study, not really, but I just went and played soccer essentially, but on the college's dime, which was great. So it was sick. So that was the first experience. And then, was signed for a club, did all that stuff. And then Spain was like the second kind of, yeah.
Okay. So that connection, like how that come about to where you got connected with that team in, you said Denmark, right?
Yep. So Denmark was literally a situation where I Googled, like I found out where I was living based on, the Danish schools. They like allocated me an apartment somewhere. And I basically went and Googled every single team in the first, not the first division, but the second, third, and fourth division, and Googled everything within like a 10-mile radius and DM'd, emailed every single one of them. And I got responses from 5 or 6 of them, and then I got trials at 5 or 4 of them, made all of them, like got offered the spot on all of them, and then decided after that like where I wanted to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's really about like, because I mean, for me right now, I'm 23. I'm looking to go. I'm kind of figuring out like logistics wise, like what I have to do in terms of. I'm gonna go back to end up finishing like my college, so transferring to like an NAIA school.
Cool.
There, but then as far as like looking to go, I think with the whole like trying to go at trials and like that part of it, like that was for sure like a mental, like a psychological thing for me, like like I feel like I'm ready kind of a thing. But like it's really just about like do I have the money to get to these places, and then reaching out and getting in contact with these places that will like welcome me for like these trials, right?
Exactly. And it really is like sort of have the mindset of, again, outcome, even from people saying yes, outcome is unimportant. Like email and call as many places as you possibly can. And if someone says no, like, oops, like who cares, right? Move on to the next person. Because there are so many like, dude, there's so many teams in the world that will want you. That like it's all about a game of opinion. So it's all about finding the person who wants you and then go from there.
Okay. Yeah. No, because I mean, I even like thinking, I've had this thought maybe like come up within like the last like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But I even thought, because one guy, because I'm training with like that Club America like Nido team like here in Seattle, and then there's one guy that's playing for like the U23s, and he's from Egypt, so he's playing for like the U23 like Egyptian national team, and like I was kind of thinking like, because like my dad's from Vietnam, my mom's from Cambodia. Like I'm not sure how like that would all work as far as like national team wise, but even looking at like just like opportunity wise, like let's say I wouldn't even mind like looking to see if like there's like they're looking for like players there too, just
dude,
like
the Southeast Asian market is like, there's so many opportunities over there. Like I have so many friends who went over there and made a crap load of money playing. Like I had a guy who had played at LA Force with, he was a goalkeeper from Iran, and he was in Thailand for one season in the second division, and he was in a penthouse apartment getting paid $4,000 a month. Like, dude, it's a joke. It's a joke. Like there are so many, what I'm telling you, like all you got to do, and do you have dual citizenship or tri-citizenship?
I don't know. I was born here, but I mean, I should try and research and look into that too, because I'm sure there's like little loopholes or things that I could probably look into. But
of course, so that would be one option. The other thing is, do you speak another language other than English?
No.
Okay, so no problem. It doesn't matter. So either way, I'd ask either of your parents if they have connections over there, just in the soccer community. Doesn't matter who. just anyone, youth coaches, whatever, because people know other people and it's all about networking.
Okay.
And again, don't be afraid to bug people. Like I literally like, I'd call a team, they'd say, oh, I'm sorry, like we don't have any spots. I'd email their administrative office 5 minutes later and they'd say, oh yeah, come out for a trial. And I'd be like, haha, I gotcha. Like it literally sometimes is just, force as much of yourself on them and then force them to make a decision. Because once they've said no, okay, cool, like I'll move on. But until they've actually given me a definitive no, it's never not a yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I think that's something I for sure need to kind of explore. Like, I think I was really thinking about that, like that market over there too. So I mean, because I think as far as, because I know like there's good players here in the Seattle area, but then for whatever reason, I think like they're like expecting like these teams to kind of come to them, and so I think it's like it's a comfort thing, right? They don't want to like step outside of like, let alone like Seattle, or step outside of like the country. So I mean, these other places, like especially, I mean, because like Southeast Asia, like it's like a lot of like it's a lot of third world countries over there. So I mean, I'm not sure how big of a priority soccer is over there in terms of like scouting and finding talent outside of like their country or like region. Yeah, I think that's something I should probably explore.
Absolutely. I mean, dude, my agency has a huge connection in Malaysia, and I have a buddy who played in South Korea, and both of those places are on my radar in the next 2 years.
Oh man, South
Korea. Like seriously,
like
that's
cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always wanted to like, this is even like aside from like soccer, but like, I've always wanted to like live in Japan, like at some point in my life, like regardless if like soccer or not, but like being able to play like pro there or and live there, like that would be cool. Like
it'd be
using
amazing.
Like soccer as a vehicle to like travel and see different parts of the world. Like,
dude,
like you're kind of already doing it though, so that's up.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, again, if you have any more questions moving forward, let me know. But yeah, no, that's a great stuff. Everyone else on the call,
by email or like should I just hit you up on Instagram? Because I mean, I'm often on Instagram because like I'm trying to get off like social media, but should I mean, I can always just download it back again and then just.
No, email's fine. Email's fine. Okay. Yeah, here, I'll put my, there you go. Email contact@noahcavanaugh.com. Okay. And then we can have conversations on there. And that way I can also give you more long form stuff.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm writing this down right now.
All right, fam. Hope you enjoyed that video. Hope you enjoyed the whole session. If you have any other questions related to what we talked about in this video, definitely go down in the comments below, ask, or you can hit me up on Instagram @noah.cavanaugh, and we can have conversations there. And if you want to even get further, or you want one-on-one coaching or advice, definitely go check out my website, noahcavanaugh.com, where you can purchase Zoom sessions where we can sit down and talk for an hour or an hour and a half one-on-one and really dive into your own personal situation, and I can help you out in whatever way possible. As always, guys, be awesome. Take care. I'll see you guys in the next video.